Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 5th June 2022. My name is trsv Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. I am a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. This is my spiritual channel. We have been discussing about various examples of genius that is based on causal intelligence of a living human entity. In this video, we shall talk about yet another example. This is the life story of a person called Mr. Larry Holmes. Mr. Larry Holmes was born in November 1949 in a place called Cuthbert, Georgia. He was born into a very poor gardener's large family. They were almost dirt poor, and later on they shifted to a place called Easton in a place or state of Philadelphia in the United States. His father went to become a gardener and he earned so little that he had nothing to give to the family. Hence, Larry Holmes started working at the age of 16 and he began as initially a petrol pump attendant. Later, he became a laborer, etc., and ultimately, at the age of 18, when he got married to a woman, to make more money, he became what is known as a sparring partner. A sparring partner is a person who spars with a boxer or some wrestler or some guy so that the other guy who is a champ already practices his art on this man. So, in other words, the sparring partner is always on the receiving end of the punches thrown by a boxer or a wrestler, etc. For that, this sparring partner is paid handsomely. Mr. Larry Holmes, who was already 6'3", became a sparring partner of a person called Mr. Muhammad Ali, who was the world champion in heavyweight boxing at that time. Mr. Larry Holmes was paid handsomely for getting punched by Mr. Muhammad Ali almost every day. Mr. Muhammad Ali prospered because he had a very good sparring partner. Suddenly, one day, Mr. Larry Holmes decided that enough was enough and he started his own boxing career. Genius began creeping into this man through his own causal intelligence. Bout after winning bout later, Mr. Larry Holmes not only made a lot of money but soon began getting noticed as a force to reckon with in the boxing arena. And then he did something which was very surprising or unusual for people in the boxing line. To the amazement and dismay of the fans of Mr. Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes challenged Mr. Muhammad Ali was once his own ex-boss. These guys were angry and upset at this decision of Larry Holmes, and the whole world as such was stunned. In fact, it was a case of instant dislike for Mr. Larry Holmes, but this man hardly bothered about this. In the bout that followed, Mr. Larry Holmes defeated the world champion Mr. Muhammad Ali to the surprise, dismay, and shock of the world over. Everyone was very, very angry with Mr. Larry Holmes, but whether they loved it or not, they had to coin a phrase. Mr. Muhammad Ali may be the greatest, but Mr. Larry Holmes is the latest. Mr. Larry Holmes not only became a world champ, but he went on getting or scoring victories after victories in boxing. Till one day, Mr. Larry Holmes became a superstar in the boxing arena and also very rich. He had won 48 bouts. Now it was time for him to win the 49th bout, which was against a person called Mr. Michael Spinks. And then the organized crime mafia intervened. There was once a boxer called Mr. Rocky Marciano who was undefeated in his boxing bouts. This guy had been undefeated in 49 bouts. The mafia was scared that if Mr. Larry Holmes wins the 49th or 50th bout, he will either be equal to or surpass Mr. Rocky Marciano, who was nowhere at that time. He was already dead. So the organized crime decided to lean on Mr. Larry Holmes. Mr. Larry Holmes was black and the mafia was white. America has a lot of racist problems. And so here, though the whites or the law did not disapprove, it disapproved this thing officially, but gave an approval tacitly to the mafia. The mafia leaned on Mr. Larry Holmes and told him that he should necessarily get defeated in the 49th bout. This was not very just, but Mr. Larry Holmes had no other choice but to toe the line. But Mr. Larry Holmes was very intelligent. He told the mafia, "I will do your work provided you pay me for this." The mafia was very happy that this black coward had agreed to toe their line. But the mafia did not know half of it. It paid $5 million to Mr. Larry Holmes to get defeated in the 49th bout. Mr. Larry Holmes took the $5 million, went to Philadelphia, constructed a building with that money, and gave the building on lease to none other than the Philadelphia Police Department. The mafia was beside itself with rage. Without paying one money or without using one penny from his own earnings, this black man had used the mafia money to build a building and give it on lease to the mafia's arch rivals, the police. Mr. Larry Holmes had the last laugh. Even today, the whites in general, uh, the people in general, and the whites in particular hate Mr. Larry Holmes and his guts and his intelligence. But the fact remained that the genius that had possessed Larry Holmes had made him a superstar in the eyes of all those who hated him and feared him and despised him. This is all because of causal intelligence and genius. Mr. Larry Holmes, who had the intelligence and the cool headedness to face any situation, came up to a level which was incredible to say the least. That is all in this video. If you feel that you like this story about causal intelligence and genius, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that I can keep reminding you of my other videos. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.